Hey guys, Don here, letting you know that the Open Cut podcast is now available on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. We'll be on your devices and apps of preference, so check us out. Here's the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are now in the cut.
Welcome to the Open Cut.
Welcome. It is Monday, July 1st. We are coming off the heels of UFC Minneapolis this last weekend, which puts us about 1 week removed from UFC Fight Night Greenville, headlined by Korean Zombie and Renato Moicano. We're going to start there. This was Korean Zombie's first comeback since that last-second loss to Yair in a 5-round fight this past November. Renato Moicano is coming off of that loss to Jose Aldo, and Korean Zombie came back with a vengeance. I mean, it didn't last long. First round KO, and now Korean Zombie is right back up at the top of the featherweight division.
I can't remember in the last 7-8 years I've not seen a fight with Korean Zombie you wouldn't want to watch again.
Oh no, any fight with Korean Zombie is always a fight that it's entertaining, and I'd watch it again. And this one's short enough you can watch it seven times.
And I'll be honest with you, I was flabbergasted how quick, one, the fight ended in general, but the way that it ended, I really thought experience overtook a little bit here. Whether it was a good shot or not from Zombie, Renato to drop like that, it was almost like old man strength versus newcomer. I mean, he just dropped him and just put him away. But that was, I mean, definitely a lot quicker than I thought. I mean, 58 seconds in, I guess that's the trade back, man, after getting knocked out with 1 second left after that Yair fight. I mean, that's the way to come back from something vicious like Korean dealt with in that last loss.
Yeah, and it was just the perfect slip right hand. I mean,
oh, yeah.
you could tell he was throwing low leg kicks and jabs early on. I'm talking about Korean Zombie here.
Yeah. To
try and get a feel for Renato's movement. Renato threw a few punches that Korean Zombie got out of the way of, and then threw one more. And Zombie thought that's the one. Just slipped out, right hand right down the middle, landed right on the button, and jumped right on top of him after that. It was over. So like I said, this puts Korean Zombie right back into the mix in the featherweight division. It's a pretty big hit for Renato Moicano. He's coming off of if he'd have beaten Jose Aldo,
yeah,
he's probably there instead of Frankie, based on the timing. But so he loses to Jose Aldo, second round TKO. Now he's finished in 58 seconds against Korean Zombie. He's going to have to regroup lower on in the rankings, but Korean Zombie is now up ranked 6th.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where do you think he goes from here? I mean, he's not going to get a next title shot. We've already got Volkanovski waiting in the wings for that. But what is his next move?
To be honest with you, I'd love to see him go back against Aldo again. I think with Aldo right now, where he's at, waiting on a fight, same time, this is a bring-back fight for the Zombie. It's marketable. Everybody loves seeing both these guys, especially Aldo bounces back well after bad performances, whether he's knocked out or he just doesn't win. Like the Volkanovski, not the most entertaining, look like an older Aldo like we talked about before.
But where have we seen Aldo bounce? When has he had bad losses that he's had to bounce back from?
Well, the Conor. Okay, you come back from there, and then you had a little bit of struggle there with the Max. Okay, and you take Max. Those are championship fights. Those can go either way. Those are one or two. That's all. Yeah. He's always there. Always but then he comes back with the Jeremy Stevens knockout with the liver shot. That was a huge stepping stone for him to say, "I'm still here. This is this type of caliber things I can do. Who's next?" Korean's very similar. He took that layoff like we've talked about. He's back in now, able to fight. The higher caliber guys. Even the Yair fight, like we said, it did not hurt his stock. It was unbelievable. One of the greatest fights I've ever seen and one of the greatest finishes ever. And then he's right back in the game finishing Renato, who is coming right up the ranks. And I hate to say it, not to knock on Renato a bit, I think it's another example of somebody coming a little too quick up the ranks, a young player.
I think it is. We didn't think, at the time it seemed appropriate that he was fighting Jose Aldo. He had that loss to Brian Ortega, but really Brian Ortega was the star of the division at the time. A couple wins. Now that Cub Swanson win doesn't look as good as it did at the time.
No.
He has that second round defeat to Jose Aldo, and then now this Korean Zombie. So I think maybe this 9, 10, 11 region is a better spot for him right now. But I agree. It was kind of just too much too quick for him.
Yeah.
One point I do want to make before we get into where Renato Moicano and Korean Zombie fight next is I think that this fight did as much for Yair as it did for Zombie.
Spoke volumes.
Yair just moved up to number 7 in the rankings from like number 12 or something like that just because Zombie won.
Because he stayed in the pool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that they did not want to, I mean, his last fight is a win against Korean Zombie. They didn't want to have Korean Zombie ranked so far ahead of him after he had just beaten him. So he just follows him right up the rankings, and now he's going to be looking for a top-ranked opponent. So I think that this could not have gone better for Yair.
No, that's a good point. And you know what I'm excited about that is now having both those guys neck and neck who have already fought each other with the Zabit and Brian Ortega happening. Win or lose of any of those guys, those are terrific matchups that continue to make there. Even Jeremy Stevens, throwing him in the mix with one of those guys on a loss, you know, let's say, God forbid, Zabit loses or Ortega loses, you still have guys to replace.
No, one of them's got to.
And then you continue to have Zombie, Yair, whoever get up to the caliber of the Aldos, the Frankies next fight. So, I mean, Feather, again, man, featherweight is just swirling pool right now of nothing but fun.
So who do you think Zombie gets? Oh, you said Jose Aldo.
I think Aldo.
Yeah,
I'm going to stay with Aldo. I'm going to stay with Aldo. I'm not going to even make a prediction for Renato. I honestly think he needs to take maybe the rest of the year off.
Yeah, I think he needs to fight someone like outside of the top 10.
Two knockouts within 6-month period of the new year, big knockouts, that's not good. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, the caliber's high, but let's take some time and get regrouped because, like you said, besides obviously the Cub win and Calvin Kattar, that's as high as it gets for him.
Yeah, I think there's going to be someone outside of the top 10 that is ranked is a good spot for Renato. And I actually like the Aldo pick for Zombie. I think that makes a lot of sense. That fight was a long time ago. They were both much
two different
fighters
people
back then. I was thinking Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy Stevens called him out. He wants that fight. I like the way that sounds. I think
it's still a great
make or break fight for Jeremy Stevens. This will be 3 losses in a row if he loses, but if he wins, then he's right back in the thick of things. Having lost as Zabit and Jose, there's no shame in that. So that's what I was thinking, but I personally like that Aldo pick even more. The main event, or the co-main event for that was Andrea Lee and Montana De La Rosa. Andrea Lee got the win there by decision. She's now on a 7-fight win streak, and she's going to be fighting someone at the top of the flyweight division. My personal pick is Joanne Calderwood coming off of a loss. I think that's a good measuring stick for where Andrea Lee's at now. Someone who's been in the UFC a bit longer. But she seems to be for real, and she's going to be a serious contender in that flyweight division.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's definitely a name that I had out there. I think this was another fight where you had 2 different caliber fighters, former training partners too, so that always puts a different mix into it. They've seen what they can do. They know some of the things they can do. I thought it was a great fight. I think Montana, for once, worried about her wrestling a little too much, and Lee pop-shotted, took the good shots. I'm very impressed with Lee. After watching her, I think she is definitely another one that'll tear up through the rankings and probably stay, not leave. I like that a lot with JoJo coming off that because JoJo was doing pretty well in that division, even with some losses later, in 2017 and 16. I think that makes the most sense. Roxanne's already got a fight lined up. Joanna, obviously, is not coming back in the flyweight, but she's still ranked in there, so it'd have to be a perfect matchup for her. And no offense, I don't think Andrea is at all close to fighting Joanna caliber yet. So I think this will be the next big test. So JoJo would be a perfect person. And then you move up and, deal with your Chukagans and, Liz Carmouche, who knows what happens here when, God forbid she loses against Valentina, there's somebody else available to fight.
Yeah, and I think Jessica Ai is probably out a little ways. Caitlin Chukagans, we know, is out a little ways because she's planning her wedding. So yeah, I think that, Calderwood is coming off a loss not too long ago.
That's really your only option.
But yeah, if you want to make a fight soon, that seems to be the one. Unless, like you said, unless Joanna fights, but I doubt it. Yeah, I see her trying to go back to
way more water in the well over strawweight for her.
What do you think about Randy Brown knocking out Brian Barberena?
So I'm really happy for once that what I saw and what other people said were different. As everybody said, Randy Brown has no chin. the Nico Price knockout with hammer fist from the bottom. That's a weak punch. He got knocked out. Man, this is mixed martial arts. There's guys that get submitted, with arm, with key locks, Kimuras, shit that normal people would look at and say, well, that doesn't look like it hurts. Yeah, this is a pain-hurting sport. I'm glad to see that Randy was like, I know I'm going to get into brawls, but I'm going to bide and wait on that good shot. And I think he really waited to wear Barberena down because he got that TKO in the third. He didn't, do the, had the Vicente Luque type of mentality like, yeah, I'm going to probably get hit a little bit, but I'm going to wait for my shot. And I honestly think Barberena is an example of a guy coming in and tearing his chin up maybe a little too early. And I think this is maybe one of our first signs of that.
He's only got the one style.
And he's all brawl. Yeah, and that's great for entertainment for fans like us and everybody else. I love to see it. The thing is that's where guys get lost and you never hear of them again because Gray Maynard's a perfect example. Gray Maynard used to love just going in and throwing everything under the sun. The Frankie Edgars fights, all of him. Any of the fights he went in, but a lot of times that's what got Gray knocked the fuck out. So I think Brown played a terrific game. That helps him bounce back from that last loss. Barberena, though, man, is still fun to watch. I just hope he can throw a little bit more into the arsenal.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think he's going to be in danger of getting released. He's coming off now several losses, but he's a fun fighter to watch. He mixes it up with anyone. But like you said, he does have the one brawling style, and if you got that style beat, you can beat him. I thought Randy Brown looked incredibly impressive in this fight. I thought he played smart. He took the shots that were there. He didn't get himself into any trouble he didn't need to be into. I thought he had a fantastic fight, and I think he's another strong contender in this super deep welterweight division.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with where is he in the welterweight division? He's not a ranked fighter yet. I mean, who's 15 right now is Vicente Luque.
And I think who just knocked out Barberena 2 fights ago.
Yeah, and I honestly think that Randy Brown, his fight against Barberena was more impressive than Luque's. I thought he looked cleaner.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't think it's enough to get up there and be ranked ahead of him.
I think he takes another unranked fighter. I don't even think get close to 15. Have another unranked fighter that you dominate to say, hey, here's 2 guys that I've taken out that weren't even ranked. I've earned a little worth here. Let me go take a crack at a guy that's got a number next to his name, and then that's all it comes down to. We all know rankings aren't everything. Leon Edwards is number 11. Leon Edwards is on a 7-fight winning streak. That doesn't always mean shit. It's also who you fight, when you fight, and how you fought.
Yeah, Liza Dos Santos is also on a 7-fight winning streak. I mean, it's
you got a lot of guys that.
But if you get 7 fights in a row in that welterweight division, it's impressive.
It speaks volumes. Yeah, and I think that's what's happening is you're getting a lot of guys that can hang around a while in that division because they're doing big things at the right time. It just may not always fall at the exact time that they want it to ride up the rankings. You're going to have to put in a little worth. Now, you start getting into higher calibers really quick here in the welterweight
stack.
It's, a move from 15 to 13 is Vicente Luque to now Damian Maia. That's 2 different game plans to learn how to fight against. So I really think Randy takes some time, finds a good fighter. Barberena, keep doing what you're doing, just add a little bit more of the tank.
Yeah, you got to be not so predictable.
And also don't think you have to win every fight by being tough.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, sometimes it's better not to get hit.
Because there's been a lot of fights where Barberena is going to put somebody away early, or he'll get into a brawl and he's going to always win it because he's got the tougher chin. Realize you don't have to. Don't be a Darren Elkins. Don't put so much damage on yourself early.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought Randy Brown looked impressive enough that I'd like to see him fight someone, not necessarily someone ranked. I'm personally thinking like Rocco Martin, coming off of that loss to Damian Maia, just outside of the top 15.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's a good range for Randy Brown to be in.
Good call on that.
And then one of the most impressive fighters I thought of the night was Andre Ewell.
Yes.
This fight was fun. They were going back and forth, 2 very different styles. But I thought it was an incredibly fun fight to watch. And Andre Ewell looks like he's going to be something to watch for in the years to come in the bantamweight division.
Smooth. That man's transition and just his combinations and movement, some of the smoothest. And I get it. Bantams, flyweights, featherweights, they're all fast and smooth. That guy is a new breed if he continues to fight like that. We got to watch him as he goes. But I agree with you. I enjoyed that fight a lot.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite fight to watch of the night. A couple fights I wanted to mention on the prelim card. Roommates, Luis Pena and Deron Winn both got victories.
Yeah.
Deron Winn, this was his UFC debut. He's like DC's protege.
Yeah, he's mini DC.
Yeah, not a whole lot mini about him though.
Well, he's a thick boy.
Thick dude.
Yeah, he's a stump, but I'm pretty impressed with him. He's another guy you look at him and you don't think he can do even half of what he's doing, but he's a brute. And I mean, I've talked about this before. So Eric Spicely stepped in to face him on late notice. Eric Spicer was released by the UFC and then brought back. This is our original guy that was a skateboarder, okay? And he turned into a fighter, and he's very talented. He submitted Santos. I mean, he has had some monster wins earlier in his career. For Darren to come in and, even get a decision win, I think that's pretty badass, especially since, he's not been in this is his debut. He's been around the UFC a long time. He's never been in it.
Right, and say what you want about Spicely stepping on short notice, he's still a seasoned fighter.
He's still a fighter that has miles on him. He has understanding of the octagon. And like I said, Darren has been around on the Ultimate Fighters with DC, a lot of other fighters, just help and assist. Like, this guy's been in the sport but not being able to shine. I think it's kind of cool for a guy his size. I don't know, man. Maybe
he's like 5'5", 5'6", fighting.
I think that's cool.
Cutting weight to get to 180.
Cutting weight because he's thick.
Yeah.
He's a DCer at middleweight, but I think that's kind of cool because it's not a typical fighter, which in turn makes some cool fights.
Oh yeah. He's not a typical middleweight body. You're not going to see. I guess fights he's fighting against middleweights are going to look different than other people fighting them. But it's unique stuff. Like you said, you're going to see different stuff, which is fun.
And the whole thing, the obvious elephant in the room is he going to be able to handle as it gets tougher, not only in competition skill, height advantage, length advantage, speed advantage.
There's going to be some guys that's going to be really, really high. When you talk about someone like, Anthony Smith, when he was fighting middleweight, him standing next to a Deron Winn, they're going to look... he's going to be towering over him.
How about a Hermanson?
Yeah.
Who's not even jacked or thick. He's just 7 inches taller than you.
Yeah, so it's going to be... There's going to be some unique matchups.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he does. Is there anything else you want to hit on that Greenville card?
No, your buddy Luis pulled off a nice TKO in the third over Matt.
I don't know why Matt Wyman decided he wanted to come back for that fight.
No, I think it's one of those things, too, is the love for the sport, no matter what, he wanted to get back in there. I'll have to give him a lot of credit.
Maybe just to see what he could still do.
He could bang out. He threw some punches on Luis. He got split and kept going. He got gas.
Oh, yeah, he didn't quit.
He did not quit, so I got to give him props on that. And you know what? I'm happy for Luis. I know you follow him. I think Luis is coming into his own. I just wish so bad he would have never tried to go to featherweight. For a guy that's already that lean with no fat on him, Bob Ross painting, let's paint another field, man, and let's get a little weight on you.
Yeah, I think lightweight's better for him.
It's just, he's just as fast, he's just as smooth and replenished. Whether that's a guy that was out 4 years and you beat him or not, it's still a win. It's keeping him in the UFC, and guess what? He can go and fight anybody after that because no one can say anything.
Yeah, right. Good win. He'll be looking to make his way up the lightweight rankings. 2 other fights that took place the same day as the Greenville fight card that I want to mention. Rafael Lovato Jr. upset Gegard Mousasi and became the middleweight champion for Bellator. And we were just talking about how we thought Lyoto Machida was going to try and make a run at that middleweight title. I don't know anything about Rafael Lovato Jr. I know he's been fighting for a little bit now.
Yeah, he's been around a minute.
But I really thought Gegard Mousasi is about as good as it gets at the middleweight, no matter what organization you're in. And I was surprised to see it would go this way.
Yeah, and the thing is, Mousasi put it on him several times during the fight. But Rafael, I think, controlled the fight well to get that decision. I think Bellator is at the high-level championship fights. There's a lot, like Rory's a perfect example when he fought Lima. That was a decision fight. On paper, nobody's expecting anybody to make it out of that fight. These guys at that high caliber, man, they're just holding on and showing everything there and getting through with the decision, but figuring out how to get that decision. Everybody wants to knock out the sub, but I don't think these guys they know that the window for that is so small.
Yeah, and
at
if
this
you open
level.
yourself up to something
and
because you're going for it,
MVP
then they're
Lima found that out really quick.
They will take advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, new blood in basically a new organization, basically as far as getting these elite fighters. I think it's awesome, and I thought it was cool too.
I like him. I mean, I don't know much about him, but I like him.
He seems very humble, cool guy, and you know what I love? First thing he did, I'll do a rematch with you. And guess what? If you don't want a rematch, I'll go and fight Machida.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about rematching because I just took your belt, but if that's what I got to do to continue to hold the belt and be shown that I'm the best in this division, then yes, sir.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way it goes. If Machida gets the next crack at it and then they give Gegard Mousasi a chance to get his belt back just because of timing. And
he's deserving of saying, I'll do what I want when I want to. Like we talked about.
He wants, yeah,
this guy went through the UFC, ran through a ton of guys, and then just was not somebody that they wanted to give every opportunity or the timing, whatever it was. I wasn't behind the scenes on it, but for this, like we said, top 5 of all-time middleweights in my eyes. Easy.
Yeah, I don't know about all time, but walking the earth right now, I'm saying, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but for 31, 32 years old, the mileage and the absolute legacy fights he's had, pretty amazing.
And then the other fight that same evening that really blew my mind was I gave Artem Lobov no chance to defeat Paulie Malignaggi in a boxing match. This guy's a former, two-weight world champion in boxing.
Decorated beyond belief.
I mean, he's been retired for years, but yeah, I dismiss this as a freak show, more so than the Conor McGregor Mayweather one. I was certainly interested in Artem Lobov and Jason Knight. I thought that was going to be a fantastic fight, which it was.
And it was.
But I thought this was going to be one-sided Paulie affair, and it was not. Artem Lobov got the decision victory in 5 rounds in a bare-knuckle boxing match against Paulie Malignaggi, and it blew my mind.
Do you think a little bit, and I'm not saying this because I brought up, do you really think the fact of knuckles bare being stung when you're used to having heavy gloves compared to 4 ounce? Because I don't know if you heard, Paulie broke both his hands.
Yeah, Artem. You seen Artem's head?
Yeah, he's got a big head. It's a thick head.
I'd rather punch a wall 100 times than punch that dude's head.
But that's what I was worried about going into it. And I'm not here trying to say I'm right. I've lost almost every prediction I've had in the last 3 weeks. But I think with that was a classic example of I've done something one way so long, you've done something different. Now we're doing it stripped.
Yeah.
And you saw the gash on Paulie's head. You saw Artem's face. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't trading back, but I think the reality kicked in like, this is real.
Yeah.
This is skin the fucking skin.
I'm getting hit with a fist, and I'm hitting him with my fist.
Yeah, and it's also sticking, and I'm getting cut almost every shot. That's the thing, is in boxing, you could take 50 punches to the head and barely have a cut.
You cover up well, you can survive.
Angles are different. And here, you're blocking
bigger gloves at least. You can fit that fist through some tight spaces.
And you get these guys that barely have any feeling left in their hands anyway, and they throw a club at you, you're split every time.
Yeah, I think I would typically give that pain tolerance edge to the MMA fighter over a boxer, because they're used to getting hit all different kinds of ways.
4 ounce gloves.
Yeah, hurting when you're hitting people. So that definitely played a huge factor. I thought that was. Well, I guess my biggest takeaway is I hope Paulie Malignaggi goes away and we don't have to hear about him talking shit anymore.
Yeah, and I think both the corners even were trying to kind of tell each other, guys, this, like, you make him pay for what he did, and then Paulie's corner's like, we just need to survive. Reality hit, and like I said again, kind of got to pull back on these freak show fights. Like I joke about, I don't want to see Frank Shamrock fighting, Servin. I don't need a 60-year-old and a 50-year-old fighting in the ring that have fought 100 fights combined.
I will see Ken Shamrock or Frank Shamrock fight Tito Ortiz until the day I die. Until the day they die. Hell, I don't care.
Yeah, just because it's funny. But Dan Servin, I don't need a guy that's,
we don't need Severin out there. We don't need to see any more from Chuck Liddell. I mean,
no.
it's
but very interesting. It was weird. It was still weird to watch.
Yeah, so both those fights the same night as the Greenville card, and both of those I was pretty surprised with the outcomes of.
TV pay-per-views and just watching right now as far as martial arts, it's unlimited. Between the Glory fights, having Fight Pass, I mean, you can watch all this almost every weekend of some caliber.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that at least 3 out of 4 weekends there's fights, UFC fights on, and then there's all kinds of fights on top of that. It's been strong year so far, and I think that the sport's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and become more prevalent. And so more opportunities to see more fights all the time.
Yep. More podcasts for us.
This past weekend was UFC Fight Night Minneapolis. This fight was initially going to be headlined by Tyron Woodley and Robbie Lawler, too. Woodley pulled out with a shoulder injury, so they pulled Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou from next week's UFC 239 card to headline this card in Minneapolis. And the headliner didn't last long.
No.
Francis Ngannou got the TKO finish in about a minute and a half. He's now got 3 consecutive fights with first-round finishes that have combined for less than 3 minutes in total between all 3 fights.
I saw you had that there. That's a terrific stat for him.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, that you really expect that to only happen in the heavyweight division, but this is more than heavyweight power. This is like that dude's got power like no one else.
Yeah.
I thought Junior Dos Santos had a chance. I picked Francis Ngannou. I thought that he would win in the first round, but I wasn't.
It's nice.
I wasn't going to count out Junior Dos Santos.
No, you can't. Well, he's as far as heavyweight goes, he's one of the best hand boxers at that size in that division. As far as true boxing talent with the hands, he can piece a lot of guys up. Besides Kane, I always loved Kane's boxing. I thought it was always very clean, very fast, and sharp for a guy that big.
Yeah, he moves well.
Francis is wielding just an absolute TV at
you.
If
he touches you,
it's done.
Yeah, I mean, you could. So in that minute and 40 seconds that it took to get the finish, he hit Junior Dos Santos a few times. I would say maybe 2 times before the one really good one that finished him. Both those times, though, Junior Dos Santos is like looking around, making sure he is where he thinks he is, and then going back to fight.
Because he needs to know that at any moment, I have a Mack truck in a fist form coming at me. Have you seen the meme that's got him from the behind punch, and it looks like he's brushing JDS's teeth? It's great.
Nah.
But no, this is one of those, everyone always says, if he touches you, you're out. Like, Jeremy Stevens used to say, if I touch guys, they don't wake the fuck up. With this man, this is real. And this is also a man that stood next to Shaq and looked like me next to Shaq.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then you realize that this man is still that scary. And then again, you got someone like JDS who's been in those power punching wars with Kane, Stipe, Alistair, guys that are throwing just under that heat, but this is completely different because when it touches you, your equilibrium's gone. Yeah. You hope you get knocked out because it's going to be painful as fuck the rest of the ride.
These big dudes cannot handle
scary.
It is scary. That's why, I mean, it looks like Stipe took punches. And he went 5 rounds taking punches and won that fight. I mean, he wasn't a stand-up fight. It was a wrestling fight. He made it into a wrestling fight. But he was getting hit, and he stuck with it, which just makes even DC's win over him even more impressive, the way he could drop him like that.
And that was only a year ago. A little over a year, I get it. But I mean, as far as the skill level, time, the change, Jesus. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me?
So that was the headliner they brought in. And it deserved to be a headliner. I mean, that's what you want to see out of a giant heavyweight fight that should be the top contender. Dana White's come out and said he can't promise anyone. I mean, both this and the Benavidez fight were supposedly #1 contender fights. And he's saying they're not interim title fights. You can't promise anyone anything because you just don't know what's going to happen. And I get that.
No, you have to say that to cover your ass, but you also have to be realistic.
Well, let's be realistic. There is a scenario where DC beats Stipe again.
Sure.
And in that scenario, Dana White is going to try to pay both John Jones and DC as much money as they want to fight each other at heavyweight.
100%.
And that's a scenario where you cannot promise Francis Ngannou the next title shot.
No, and I agree with
that. That's why you have to come out and say, it's not that he gets the next title shot. He's definitely the front runner. I would say if Stipe wins, he gets it for sure.
Yeah.
I do think if DC wins, they're going to try to pay them as much money as they possibly can to get that trilogy fight.
Well, especially with DC wanting to retire. If DC gets a nice $2 to $3 million check on the way out, that's pretty fun to do, and you retire, and you got to beat John Jones. Vice versa, John Jones gets to make up all the money that he lost over these fucking years.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's a great point.
The only fight that makes sense for Francis is the next heavyweight title shot. I just think that there might be other heavyweight title shots that make sense too.
And that's good to say because I think a lot of people don't, and myself included, I get very blinder where I'm like, well, this guy's next in rankings. It's not how it works, man. We always joke, life's not fair. This isn't fair.
Shit happens. Yeah. It's not always shit. It's just
it's reality.
You have to be the next guy at the right time. There's other things going on too.
Yep.
JDS has come out and said he's not done fighting. He's 34, but he wants to keep going. This is a huge step back for title contention. But I mean, you got the champs retiring. You'd have to imagine Stipe is not going to be along too much longer. I think he can still make another climb, but even if he doesn't, he's still one of the best fighters in the world at heavyweight division. Do you have someone in mind for him to fight next?
Numbers-wise, you could go again with a Derek Lewis when he comes back, but there's your question of that. Alistair's looking for a fight, I would assume, after the Olenek fight.
He just fought, right? Derek Lewis and Junior Dos Santos just fought?
No, that was 2 back.
That was Derek Lewis's last fight before he...
Well, I'm sorry, I'm talking about for JDS. I apologize. Yeah, for JDS it's been 2. For Derek it just happened. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen, but that's my point is Derek is not coming back anytime soon. I don't know, man. I would kind of like to see a little Alistair go against JDS. I think that'd be really cool.
They don't like each other.
They don't like each other at all. They're legends of the sport.
I know Alistair's holding off for that Volkov fight, which we can talk a little bit about later. We don't know what
that's another log jammer.
To me, I'm thinking the winner of Alexei Olenek and Walt Harris. That gives Junior a little bit of time to bounce back from this. Both those guys, I mean, Walt is not up there quite in the rankings, but if he beats Alexei, he is. If Alexei wins, I think that's a great matchup against 2 older guys. I'd like to see the heavyweight division. Like I said, I like watching Alexei at heavyweight because there's not too many fighters like him. And then we get to see Junior Dos Santos' real jiu-jitsu capabilities that Francis Ngannou was questioning. So I think that the winner of that one would be who I would be looking for to be Junior Dos Santos' next opponent.
This is a perfect example why we need as much young blood into the heavyweight. That's why Dana White's Contender Series, they've been trying to pump a lot of these bigger guys into it. They need all the help they can get.
Light heavyweight and heavyweight both need new faces.
Yeah, I mean, because we talked about it, we got the Volkov situation here. We got Kane, who's not technically fighting. We got Alexei, obviously got a fight scheduled. Shamil's now got a fight scheduled against Curtis Blades. Blagney just fought and beat Ty, so he's going to take some time. That's the other one.
Curtis Blades. I guess the winner of that Shamil and Curtis Blades fight, or potentially even the loser.
I was going to say that
Junior Santos. Yeah.
I was going to say the Curtis Blades, but the reason I didn't because of what you just brought up about that shit happens and good shit. In that time frame, that fight is in a bit in Abu Dhabi. After that gets over, JDS may say, I just want one fight at the end of the year, and I want it to be the best worth fight ever. So, depending on what happens between Curtis and them and Shamil, one of them can get injured, whatever else. A lot of shit could happen. So I kind of wanted somebody that's available today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to pick multiple fights out because you don't know how they're going to leave that fight. Even if the winner of this fight makes perfect sense to fight against you, rankings-wise.
And they could be in a coma.
But it's got to work out too. The co-main event was Joseph Benavidez and Jussier Formiga. So this is number 1 and number 2 in the flyweight division. Joseph Benavidez looks so good.
Dude, it feels like it's been so long since I've gotten to see him fight, and it's true. And I remember now how fucking good he is. Whether I like him, his trash talk or not, he's got a beautiful wife on the broadcast. That son of a bitch still can let it eat. And just puts it on you.
So this is his second win over Formiga, who was the number 1 contender.
That fight was in 2013, by the way.
The previous fight, so 6 years ago. He's got a win against Cejudo, which was in 2016, so that's only 3 years ago. And, I mean, he is hands down the next contender. We just don't know when that fight ever happens.
I think that's why I don't like him, is because he deserves to be an asshole, because he's like, I've been fucking smashing these big boys, and have been.
He's got that strange loss to Sergio Pettis.
He does, but guess what? Pettis, at 21 years old, came into that division and started really making a name for himself.
He was so up and down. Pettis. He was like beating strong guys and losing weird ones too. Sergio was.
Which happens, and I think that's where this type of shit happens. Is you got guys going, well, you destroyed this guy that you definitely shouldn't have not, and then another fight, you're like, you went to a split decision. Like, there's just stupid shit like that. I mean, that's why fighting's fun.
Oh, yeah. But it's so unpredictable.
It's the best part about it.
But Joey Benavidez should be the next contender for Henry Cejudo. And actually, I saw Aljamain Sterling come out and say he wouldn't be mad if Joseph Benavidez got the first shot at Henry Cejudo. Which, you hear that coming from the guy who wants him on the other end.
But coming down to flyweight, though, because Joseph said, you got to come back down to me.
Oh, yeah. He's representing the flyweight division.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Aljamain has said that's fine. If Henry is going back down, I would not have a problem with that.
It's only going to benefit him because Henry gets knocked the fuck out. And then you go and hang out with Sterling. It's only benefiting Sterling. Yeah. I mean, seriously, I get where Sterling's coming away with that because it is an advantage to him.
If you're getting that fight.
If you get the fight. That's what it comes down to.
The longer that fight doesn't happen, the less your number one status matters.
Jussier is no fucking joke. He just gave Formiga his first loss. And then
Joseph Benavidez gave.
I'm sorry.
And it wasn't his first loss.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Figueiredo. Jussier gave him his first loss, then moved to Joseph. Joseph smashes him again. It shows up here, man, that there's no big boy tier here, really. It's anybody's day in the flyweight the way it is. But Henry making his name now in Bantam makes this very interesting with Joseph because he cannot stand Henry. They were on fucking Ultimate Fighter together. He's calling him out, telling him to come down. I would love to see Henry get cleaned the fuck up in flyweight.
Yeah, that's definitely the fight I want to see most. For Henry Cejudo. So I hope that does happen. Like we said, Henry's probably not fighting the rest of this year. And if I'm Joseph Benavidez, I don't have a problem sitting out to the beginning of next year. Do I sit out to the beginning of next year to see him fight at bantamweight? And then when the hell do I know if he's coming back to flyweight?
Look how long he held out. At what point do
you have to come back?
Look how long he held out. He held out almost full 6 months just to fight a guy to get to this contender spot. Most guys are trying to fight at least twice in 6 months if they're cleaning guys up.
Yeah. I mean, it's 6 months isn't an incredibly long layoff, but it's longer than most fighters would want to have. Hopefully they make that fight happen. We also got to see Damian Maia fight this past weekend. He fought Rocco Martin, went to a decision, won the decision. This wasn't the most entertaining fight, I didn't think.
No.
You got to see how great Damian Maia was at controlling you if he got a hold of you. He was just always on top, always pressuring. But on the feet, it was if ever he got touched, he was worried. He was trying to grab a leg. It looked like he was trying to run out the fight. It looked like he knew he had won the first 2 rounds and was just trying to survive the 3rd round, which I'm not a huge fan of. I actually wish that it had been scored a draw. One of the judges scored a draw.
They did, yeah.
Because Rocco Martin looked much better in the 3rd round compared to Damian Maia than Damian Maia did in the first and second. Yeah, but Damian Maia definitely won the 1st and 2nd rounds.
Did you see how Rocco carried himself the whole fight? Super low, back leg coiled, snapped that leg out, that front kick to the side or to the body of Damian just over and over again to keep distance with him. But he was throwing the power.
Yeah, and you have to be ready to strike him when he's coming in.
That's all he was trying to do is time that strike to come in. But yeah, that's the problem with Damian Maia is he is so talented in jiu-jitsu that unfortunately jiu-jitsu is not the most entertaining for spectators like ourselves.
In a five minute round, it's tough. It's tough to make enough headway to get to your position in a 5 minute round, especially when someone doesn't want to engage with you.
I'm super happy to see him get a win because he's not going to be fighting forever, and he has been a staple name, a wonderful welterweight.
I love watching Damian Maia fight.
Like you've talked about before, it's interesting to see how his opponents have to deal with him. Like I've watched Rocco a lot. I've never seen him fight like that. He was hunched down the hunchback, throwing legs, front kicks, keeping pushing, padding away, and then right as Damian went after him, it was not even panic mode. It was like, here's the program. We're getting the fuck out of here, and we're going to tag him a couple times to hurt him. Damian Maia's face after every fight looks the same. It's a jabbed mess. because that's all he's eating is jabs to keep him away. After 3 rounds of that, man, it gets pretty fucking old. And I think that's the thing is, how many more fights like that can Damian do anymore to even be considered the gatekeeper?
Well, he's talking about retirement. It's got to be. He's calling for a Diego Sanchez
I saw
fight.
that. That's great.
And I think that makes sense if Diego Sanchez beats Michael Chiesa here coming up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think both of them would be down for that fight. Those are 2 big names that have been in it. I mean, Maia's got the 3rd most fights in UFC history at 30, 2nd most wins in UFC history at 21. He's tied for the 3rd most submission victories in UFC history. And Diego Sanchez has been there since Ultimate Fighter 1. I mean, these guys are staples, have been for years and years in the UFC. And if Diego Sanchez wins, I have absolutely no problem with that fight being made. If Diego Sanchez doesn't get the win, we got Damian Maia, who's ranked 12th. Maybe, I don't know if he goes up at all. He probably stays right at 12.
Yeah, I don't see him jumping Leon.
But you need to give him someone who you need to use that measuring stick. Like we talked about him as a gatekeeper type. There's people here that should be challenged by a Damian Maia who deserve a challenge like a Damian Maia. They want a number 12 ranked opponent. They want to show the world what they can do. And if Damian Maia wants to keep fighting the UFC, you're ranked 12. You got to fight those guys.
Exactly.
If like I said, a retirement fight with Diego Sanchez is great, but I would love to see him fight an up and comer who's trying to get past him.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is like Vicente Luque, someone who's just outside that top 15.
That likes the bang.
Or Eliza Dos Santos. Both of those guys, I think Dos Santos, the capoeira style, he's also very good at jiu-jitsu. He may be more willing to engage, but I think that both of those guys would be... A Damian Maia victory on them would look great. I mean, you get a Damian Maia victory, and I mean, look at the people who have just recently beat him. Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley. Former champion, current champion, interim champion. I mean, those are the guys who have beaten him recently. So a win over him is huge.
That's the thing. To the naked eye watching Damian Maia, you see a 41-year-old that's all about this grappling, jiu-jitsu, what have you, and you're like, how in the world is this guy even in here? And then you look at his record and you go, this guy's fought some of the baddest men on the planet at this weight class that are relevant right now, and he's still fighting there. When's the last time Damian's got knocked the fuck out? Tell me that.
Oh, I don't know.
Years.
If I've seen him. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever watched him.
And when I mean knock the fuck out, I mean a technical knockout, not him out cold. I don't even know if it's happened. It's been so long.
People are so worried to engage with him because if he gets a hold of you,
if he grabs your pinky, the next thing you know, you're in a rear naked. That's how good this guy is. So I just love to see Damian Maia get a win, just in general.
Yeah, I always do. I like watching him fight. I mean, it's not, like I said, this one was not the most entertaining fight, but the unique challenges that he brings. It's like what we were talking about with Deron Winn at middleweight. It's going to be a different fight than every single other person in that weight class because no one's built like that in middleweight. No one is this good of a jiu-jitsu fighter, not in welterweight. In the UFC, no one's this good. Until
Dylan Danis comes over, nah. Which he will.
So yeah, this is. I think that he needs to keep using his rank, or if he was going to continue to fight in the UFC, I think he needs to be fighting higher level guys.
Yeah.
We saw Vince Pichel defeat Roosevelt Roberts. I think we both picked Roosevelt Roberts. I think that was a fun fight. Roosevelt looked good in the first round, and then it just kind of Vince figured it out and used his experience.
Yep.
That's the best way to put it.
And you know something that I liked is Vic made it very known up front that he was not scared of Roosevelt. He's seen what he's done. He's seen guys like that. I've been in here. And he even said it after the fight. He goes, I'm here until somebody knocks me the fuck out. And trust me, Roosevelt had plenty of opportunities. Roosevelt got stung a lot. He had a lot of times where he was relaxed. And I think he was too relaxed because Pichel is tough. He's going to take shots. He's going to look at you and keep walking you down. Not that Roosevelt hasn't seen that before, but I think Vic is a fucking big dude. He's solid for as old as he is. He's still in very good shape. So, I mean, that's a huge test for Roosevelt, and I don't think it hurts Roosevelt at all. I think he continues to do what he's doing in that division and build. And Vic, great fight, finally being back healthy. The guy's had 3.5, 4 years with the injuries. He's finally back. It was kind of a cool story.
We got 3 first-round KOs on the card.
Yeah,
no, actually 4 first-round KOs, counting Francis. But,
yep.
3 I wanted to bring up now are Drew Dober, Alonzo Menafield, and Eric Anders, all on the winning side of that first-round KO. Takeaways from all those fights?
Duber, man, I love the way that guy fights for his stature and size. He's got calves and legs the size of a cow. The guy moves well. He's always on his toes. He put it on Marco Polo, man. I mean, he just kept giving him big shots till he couldn't take it.
That was a fun fight until it looked like it was a little bit back and forth, and then it was an end.
I thought it was going to be at least 2 rounds of trading because Duber's known for that. I mean, he'll get in there and do that. Dober, sorry. And then Alonzo, classic Paul Craig, comes out aggressive, gets in your face, is super intense, and it fucking backfired again, man. Alonzo is a jacked monster, way faster, and Paul Craig, man, the lackadaisical movement, that spinning back kick and side kick he was trying to do, it's too slow. And then I think all he wanted to do was get into a ground game to hopefully put him in a submission. Alonzo said, no, I'm going to catch this foot, push to the side, and you're going to be out. And that's all it was. I mean, I hate to say it. It was sloppy as fuck in the beginning. I'm glad Alonzo put him out because that would have been a long 3 rounds, the way it was going. And trust me, Paul Craig ain't no slouch, but I think Alonzo's like, dude, I'm already way better than what you are, so I'll just wait. Okay, here's my time. You're out. Wake up.
And then Eric Anders. It was good to see him.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a hell of a knockout. Maybe a couple extra shots, but like he said, it's not on him. It's the ref needs to come in and stop that fight.
I was glad he said that because I think a lot of people forget that. Yeah. That is exactly what they're there for.
So yeah, that was good to see him come on. I mean, he got beat the fuck up against Khalil Roundtree last
his
time
legs.
Out. And speaking of Khalil Roundtree, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Alonzo Menafield and Khalil Roundtree is the fight I want to see made next. Those guys are both just outside of the rankings, coming off of impressive wins. Yeah, like I said after Khalil's last fight, I want to see that dude fight as many times as I can because you don't see a light heavyweight move and kick like that.
Tiger Muay Thai needs to get way more recognition than they already have gotten because to change a man of that size, his skill level, into a guy that never had fought in his fucking life and then made it through the training camp. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the videos of trying to get into the Tiger training camp. They take 2 people tops, and they are getting beat the dog shit out of for 5 days. I think that's a terrific matchup, and again, that keeps that division fluid, moving, and just in general, it's an enjoyable fight.
No! 5 first-round KOs. Maurice Green got Junior Albini in the first round.
You did get that, yeah, because that was in the beginning. That was the first fight. Yeah. So a lot of touching of hands, man.
5 first-round KOs this weekend.
And I'll tell you, just going back to that Eric Anders, it's obvious he needed it after 3 losses in a row.
Yeah, he needed a good win, and this is a good.
Eric has been fighting nothing but pretty top caliber guys. Castro, is coming off Dana White's Tuesday Contender. This was perfect for Eric to basically say, "Here I am. Here's a newcomer. I'm still good enough to be here. I put away a new boy that you gave some luck into because that's 2 knockouts on him now. So that guy, I hate to say it, Castro's probably not going to be around for a minute until he can reprove himself. I think for Eric, perfect. Let's get back in and find another entertaining fight for somebody that likes to bang out because that's what Eric wants to do.
And he's been about as active as anyone
in that
active. Both middleweight and light heavyweight divisions because he's been fighting
he's done both. Yeah.
Before we move on from this card, there are a couple other fights I wanted to touch with some newcomers. Ricardo Ramos beat Journey Newsom in a decision. This was a fun fight.
Jeez.
Journey Newsom, this was his first fight in the UFC.
Huge legacy family of boxing.
And I believe he's training with Rufus.
Yes.
But he stepped in to replace Sergio Pettis on late notice. Like Dave mentioned, his dad was a champion boxer. In the broadcast, at least, it sounded like Ricardo Ramos was expecting a boxer. Journey Newsom was an MMA fighter. And this was his first fight in the UFC. There was some... he was a shorter fighter. You could tell he wasn't experienced. but it was a fun fight to watch. Still, Ricardo Hamas looked good. He landed shots, and that kind of is like my takeaway from the fight was Journey Newsom he's not going anywhere.
No, he looked
took
great.
Some big shots. That last round, man, I thought sure he was going to get finished, and he just stood there. He ended up hurting Ricardo's leg after that, but I think he was too still out on his feet and tired to take advantage of it. But it was a fun fight to watch.
I think the best thing is him eating that spinning. I mean, Ricardo threw a shit ton of spinning.
Too many,
really, yeah. But he took that spinning elbow and took it on the chin, which it looked like it broke his fucking jaw.
Oh, man.
And stood there and took it, man, and took it like a man, and then just kept getting into it. And like you said, he was, he also had him hurt on the leg. I don't know what the fuck was going on his leg, if he had a muscle going out, a cramp, or something that lost.
I don't know how real. When I first saw it, I thought he was trying to
bait him.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to bait Journey into coming in to finish it. Didn't catch him. But I know Mike Bisbing and Paul Felder are much more intelligent than I am on those, and they both thought that Ricardo had gotten hurt with a leg kick. So
yeah, I think he took a lot of damage on there, but he fought through it. I mean, Ricardo is just so entertaining to watch, and I think with Newsom, beautiful addition to that weight class. Get in there and let's continue to just keep mixing it up, because guys like that, like you said, from a guy that's got a boxing background to come in. He was an MMA fighter that night.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You could never tell me that he was only a boxing striker.
He's an MMA fighter.
That dude's going to be the real deal if he continues to. I mean, that's
he's got
a
a long
hell
way
of
to go, but he's working with a great team.
That's a fucked up matchup to have out the gate.
Right. But I mean, that's what you got to do. And when the opportunity comes, and they said, "Hey, we dropped," or Sergio dropped out, and I think that's probably why they went to him, is because he's at the same camp as Sergio.
So
Dana Sergio knew that he could replace him, but. So that was his first fight, and then a couple other guys who had their first fight, Daquan Townsend, and I have no idea how to pronounce Dalcha Nujiambula.
Yeah, it's not
both of them making their UFC debut. Daquan Townsend stepped in to replace Justin Ledet on short notice, and this was a good fight. This was Dalcha looks like a monster. There was some back and forth early on. But then Dalcho figured out he could take him down, beat the hell out of him. And so that's what he did for the majority of the first and second round. And in the third round, he stood up and knocked him out.
The power and the overwhelmness, you look at the guy anyway. He's jacked beyond belief. He's got traps, Vitor Belfort style. But he can move. He was handling the wrestling and then still could bang out. Like, he was not trying to bum rush you and, bull rush you like, Lesnar style. He had the tools, and Townsend ain't no fucking joke, man. I watched that guy, as big as he is, the leg kicks and the strength, and he took a lot of shots. Yeah, I think both these guys deserve another chance in the UFC. Obviously, Dalcha getting the win. I think they deserve another chance at some good caliber fighters to see what they can do. But I'm telling you right now, I'm happy for Ledet didn't have to stay in that fucking fight, because I'm telling you what, that could have been a different story after watching that.
These guys would be good matchups for Eric Anders.
I think these guys are going to have a lot of people, not scared, but a lot of people going, fuck, I got to get through this guy to go through. I mean, this is good shit in the light heavyweight,
in their debut. And like you said, the light heavyweight is one of those divisions that needs some new guys. So this was a good fight with some promising fighters.
What do you think? Now, I do want to bring this up a little bit, because Townsend complained about it a little bit. What did you think about that stoppage with the elbows on top? Do you think, like what most people thought, he was going to get destroyed, don't call it?
I didn't have a problem with the stoppage.
Yeah, because Townsend was kind of chirping that he thought, he's like, let me go out on my shield. It's like, man, we've watched guys do that, and that's a different story.
Yeah, you weren't going to win the fight. You were losing the rounds. If you were going to get out of this round, you were going to lose it. I didn't have a problem with stopping the fight. Not that you should stop the fight because you're going to lose.
No.
Yair Rodriguez knocked out Korean Zombie with a second left. I mean, the crazy shit happens. This is fighting. But I did not have a problem with the stopping.
Nice.
Anything else from the Minneapolis card?
No, you brought up earlier Maurice Green, man. I did not think, for being a little chubby with the lazy eye, the dude put it on Junior, which I'll have to say, Junior Albini, man.
He's falling hard.
But he still wants to trade. He's not lost his fucking instinct to go in there. He clipped Maurice a couple times when he was hurt. I think Maurice just put the power, and after that second round of getting a couple flurries, it was over. But yeah, Junior, man, I think they, you know what he said before this fight? He goes, I'm surprised I didn't get cut after my last loss.
Who, Junior?
I think Junior just sowed his own, oats on that, man, and I think he's probably going to be released, which sucks because, yeah, is he the most entertaining in the world? No, but at least the guy wants to bang.
No, but I'd rather have a Maurice Green in the division than a Junior Albini, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll give you that. The good win for Maurice, because after we talked way back in the day when we were on, the liver shot, I didn't think Maurice would make it one more fight, the way he was fighting.
And especially after he showed up his first fight after TUF, looking huge. I'm like, man, what happened to this guy?
White Castle.
He hasn't won. He hasn't lost since then.
No, yeah.
He's been winning.
So good for him.
Yeah. In the last couple of weeks, we also have had a few fight announcements.
Just a few, like always.
Yeah. Not as many huge ones, but one that is definitely notable is Colby Covington and Robbie Lawler scheduled for the August 3rd card in Newark. They're going to headline that card. On our first preview episode, I had talked about how I was really excited for the Colby Covington Kamaru Usman fight because it's been so long in the making. He's had that interim championship for so long. I want to see it amount to something. It looks like he's going to have to fight Robbie Lawler before he has an opportunity to make any kind of a unification fight. So a little bit disappointed that that's the direction they're going to go with the division, but not going to say I'm surprised.
Not surprised. No, but you got to sit back to and what we've continued to talk about. Tyron obviously has got this shoulder issue going on, which I'm really concerned about because I believe this may be the same shoulder issue they had before when you had to have stem cells.
And shoulders is tough.
And shoulders is tough. So right in my mind, the first thing that clicks in my mind, a year. Because Woodley's not a super, super active fighter. Okay, you have that happen. Talked about Kamaru Usman. Just ended up getting that belt here early in the year. He's going to want to take some time.
Yeah, we knew he was going to be waiting 9 months before he fought after that, which puts us at the end of the year almost.
And then you have the beautiful mixing end of the cocktail of Colby Covington, who has not fought in the UFC for over a year now.
Has it been a year?
It's been a full year. His last fight was in June 9th, 2018.
When he got the interim title.
And it was obviously against RDA. It was a big fight. But the thing about it is he's been sitting around chirping and everything else. Be fucking honest with you, he's lucky he got this fight. And the only reason he got this fight is because Robbie was ready to go. And obviously you got Woodley out. Yep. So let's move it in. This is what needs to happen in this division because it's a put up or shut up. And I'm absolutely excited about the fight. But like what you have brought up before, another example of an interim belt being a pointless belt.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it gives you pay-per-view points, and you get extra money if you're in that title fight. But it's unfortunate to not have it be a unification belt, which like I said, not incredibly surprised. And hopefully this will be a good fight. I mean, Robbie Lawler signed me up to fight no matter who. Signed me up to watch no matter who he's fighting. Colby has got a more of a wrestling style. Not really a finisher.
No, he's a decision master.
His last five victories, his last 4 have all been decisions. But he's dominant in those fights. Yep. So we'll see how that goes. They're going to headline the card in Newark. Volkan Oezdemir and Ilir Latifi were going to fight in UFC Stockholm, but Latifi had to pull out with a back injury. That fight has been rescheduled. That will also be August 3rd in Newark.
That's a little strange to me if you think about it on paper, because that Stockholm was not that long ago for a back injury. He's taken 2 months off and fighting.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if it was really a back injury.
Well, yeah, that's what I think, and I hope it was something minor. I just know I've blown my back out a couple times, and not anywhere to these caliber of athletes. And I know it took me 4 or 5 months to be able to have my gait and walk normal again. When you got high caliber athletes, especially someone like Latifi, who's a brick shithouse anyway, it's very questionable to see that right now we're looking at a flat ass month from now that he's back. And Stockholm was what, less than a month ago? So, yeah, 2 months for a back injury, that's a little skeptical. I'm not saying he doesn't have an injury. I just wonder how extensive was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. The fight, I think, makes sense. It's just
the fight's
timing,
great.
The timing, like you said, is a little bit curious. And then some more fights that were added to that August 3rd card. Jordan Espinosa and Matt Schnell. So that's another flyweight fight that the UFC's made.
Keeping the flyweights alive.
Lauren Murphy and Mara Romero Borrello is on that Newark card. And Antonina Shevchenko and Lucy Pujilova are also on that August 3rd card.
A lot of good women fights on that card. A lot of girls that are, whether they're veterans or not, coming up through. I mean, Lauren Murphy's new. Antia Shevchenko has been around fighting but took that huge hiatus. I like that a lot. But got to talk about this Copenhagen fight that just got announced. Gunnar Nelson versus Thiago Alves. I like that. And I honestly didn't think I'd see that.
Honestly, it's not a fight I thought I was going to see either, especially after Thiago Alves' last performance. He looked gun-shy. And, it wasn't great, but Gunnar Nelson, I think, is probably going to be the favorite going into this fight. People love watching him fight. He's another guy that's got, he'll stand up and bang, but he's got the ground game, and that's really his bread and butter. Let's see, what else we got? A couple fights that were announced for Vancouver. Marcin Tybura and Augusto Sakai, and Nikita Krylov and Glover Teixeira. So you got a light heavyweight bout there and a heavyweight bout, getting the heavier divisions active. And that'll be in Vancouver in September.
What'd you think about that Glover lineup there with Nikita?
I think it makes sense. There's not a whole lot of options like we've talked about in that light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
These guys haven't fought each other. Glover's looked good of late.
Yeah.
And Nikita Krylov he had back-to-back knockouts. He had back-to-back submission losses.
Yeah.
To Misha Serkinov and Jan Blachowicz, and then he's coming off of a win over St. Preux. I think that it makes sense. Where they are, who's scheduled to fight already. I don't have a problem with that fight being made at all.
No, and I mean in a good way. I'm really excited to see Glover mix it up with some guys you haven't seen their names, and Nikita having an opportunity to kind of fight a legend. Really, Glover.
Glover's
to me is a very legendy to me in that division. I mean, and you got a 14 against a 10, man. That's how you climb. And again, keep it mixing up in the light heavyweight. You got to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities to see rematches in that division. This is a fresh fight, so sign me up. And then we're going to get into our upcoming event. This next weekend we got UFC 239. Stricken from that card is Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. Sean O'Malley now tested positive again for the same substance he was just previously coming back from a ban from. And it's like, what the hell? It's got me wondering if this is another John Jones situation, because they're talking about how it's showing up in micro doses.
Picograms.
This whole USADA thing this year has been, I think, more questions than answers. We talked earlier today already about how Alistair Overeem was waiting for that Alex Volkov fight. Alex Volkov was pulled out from that fight. Nothing else was ever mentioned. He was replaced by Alexei Oleinik. And now what? We still haven't heard anything. Still haven't heard anything. Sean O'Malley, for months and months and months, he had come out saying that he tested positive for something. We hadn't heard anything from USADA. Then USADA finally made a decision. Said, all right, you're banned for this many months, going retroactive to when we tested you. You're good to fight in UFC 239, and now you test positive for the same thing. He's talking about how he's getting double jeopardy charged twice for the same offense, which he was claiming was a poor supplement both times. We got Paulo Costa, we still never heard exactly what happened when he got pulled from a fight. He was saying it was medicine from a stomach infection. Haven't heard anything coming down from that. It was forever before we heard anything about Nico Montana. She got stripped of her championship, and we hadn't heard anything. And Neil Magny was the most recent one before the Sean O'Malley one.
Zero.
A big name where he's got pops saying he didn't do anything wrong, but we haven't heard anything from USADA. So how do you feel about USADA not putting out any information on these fighters that they are pulling from fights?
I think USADA, the problem is the intangibles and the spider web internal is so intricate of what they have to do. Listening to Nowitzki will paint a picture, whether he is telling the truth or not, which I think he is most time. He's a super smart guy. There is so much that goes into all this stuff with USADA. The problem is you're tainting a bunch of people's everything, whether it's a good fight that's up and coming for them or a monster fight that could win them a championship. Look at what happened over in Bellator with Josh Barnett. He spent 2.5 years out before he went to Bellator from UFC because USADA popped him. Then they found out it was a contaminated substance that wasn't even his fault. It wasn't even considered under the USADA. The amount of time, money, and effort that is spent and lost is what makes USADA have this bad rap, because you're not hearing the answers. People are losing money, we're losing fights, and we're getting exactly what you said, more questions than answers. And every time, right when I hear someone get popped by USADA, I go, I'm not assuming fucking anything anymore. I can assume they're either taking beaver tranquilizers, God damn it, Bernice.
Damn it, Bernice.
Or I'm fucking dealing with somebody taking TRT when they absolutely know they couldn't be doing it. I mean, here's a perfect example we just talked about. Cross promotion from Ryzen coming over to Bellator. Ryzen doesn't drug test worth a dick. Bellator does. They allowed it, followed Bellator rules. Did anyone fail a drug test for Bellator for that cross promotion? No. We have to get a standard that's across the fucking board, that's standardized, that makes sense.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with saying the rules are different in Ryzen than they are in the UFC.
No, neither do I.
My thing is, at first I thought it was a good thing that USADA wasn't going to come out and say anything about these instances until they had all the information and they're going to hand out their punishment.
Like John Jones' situation.
Well, yeah, or you can go, I mean, Dillashaw came out on his own, but all you knew is that USADA had tested positive.
Popped him.
All these guys that we just mentioned, that we know that they've tested positive for something, but we don't know what's going on at all. And if it's a situation like John Jones, where you know John Jones tested positive, but it's something they think happened years ago, and he's getting
re-hit for it.
Yeah, it's pulsing because he's cutting weight. Then at what point we are testing too strict that any little thing is going to show up?
I think that's...
Or B, tell us what you got, and so we can move on, because, like I said, when it first started, they first started adopting this policy where they're not going to say anything until they have all the information. I thought it was good, but now I'm really having second thoughts about it. I feel like you should at least come out and say what's going on, what you think is going on. Let people jump to conclusions. If you want to wait to hand out your punishment, whatever, but I'd like to hear from you what Paulo Costa's stomach medication was.
What it specifically was, what it pulled up as, and why was he taking it? Because at the same time, Sean O'Malley's a perfect example. He smokes weed every fucking day of his life. He knows when to stop smoking weed to be able to pass the test there for USADA.
Yeah, I don't think weed was not when he got popped.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying these guys either have zero clue in my mind what's in their supplements or what they're taking, or they absolutely fucking know what's in there. I don't think there's any more gray area. Like John Jones, he knew that maybe 7 years ago he had this certain stuff in there. I don't think John Jones is trying to microdose these small amounts to get an edge.
Right, and that's the thing is, do you think someone like a Sean O'Malley knows they tested positive for something, they know what's happening with John Jones, they're going to try and microdose it and claim that it's double jeopardy? I'm not going to put that past someone who's trying to get an edge.
But what's he going to get out of it as a band? If you look at Sean O'Malley, very lean, very long, lanky, not a muscular guy, at a bantam, cuts probably not that much weight. There's nothing that he has taken that I've seen in his physical form, even on an EPO style with TJ Dillashaw. EPO, by the way, does not affect everybody the same. So I would assume that if you get popped for something once, you're not going to try to retest or retry it again and sneak it even more because you got popped once.
I don't know.
If this was something new for Sean, it would make sense. No, I agree with you on the front part of it with Sean is, dude, if you're this fucking dumb to think you can get this by again, you're an idiot. I think it is really a John Jones situation. This shit is popping up again because it's either in something he doesn't fucking know,
or because he's cutting weight,
or because he's cutting weight for the fight, which he's getting ready to. He was getting ready to fight Vera at, And guess what? Let's start seeing the signs of this shit.
Yeah, so I'd like to see, I think, USADA put realistic thresholds on what they think. Just because something turns up doesn't mean anything. Maybe it has turned up at certain levels. I mean, I certainly don't know the science behind it. Maybe you can start microdosing because you know that there's certain levels that don't test, but it almost seems like the testing is too strict. That if you get caught with something one time, you can never get it out of your system completely.
Yeah.
And it's always going to show up. It's hard to set kind of a standard because everyone's body is going to go through that. Right, you're going to metabolize that stuff differently.
How do we fix it, Don? What do you think? Not even a temporary.
I'll tell you how you fix it. Yoel Romero.
No shit. Thank you for bringing that up.
Awarded $27 million in a lawsuit against Cold Star Performance Products because they were tainted. He tested positive. He was just proven in court, at least in civil court, that he did not take anything, that it was because of a tainted supplement, and he's been awarded $27 million. I don't know how much he's actually going to get. I'm sure it's a fraction of that. But you start going into all of those people who are selling supplements and saying, oh yeah, you fucked up, here's $20 million you owe us. That's how you're going to stop the tainted supplements.
You're exactly right. Well, you know, one of the first people, and I brought this up before, Tim Means. Love watching Tim Means. Tim Means got popped for a creatine. They had no fucking idea that it was in there. At this time, he didn't know that you could go up to the USADA through the UFC Institute.
Give a call.
And say, hey, here's what I'm about to take tomorrow. Is there anything in here that's not approved? Do you guys approve this? He didn't know that. He had a tainted supplement on it. They found out. They go, look at Tim Means. He's been around this sport. The guy's not juicing. He's not doing anything. He still has to take the 6-month penalty. But at the same time, that should be education for people. Bring fucking everything in here to them.
That's what, if I'm getting paid to be a fighter, I'm keeping track of everything I put in my body.
Francis eats fucking dried plantains because he's too afraid of getting popped.
He won't take any vitamins or supplements.
And think about this.
And he's afraid.
And look at him. The guy was digging sand.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to unfortunately do, because guess what? Let's go back to the Eric Sylvia days. Eric Sylvia was 100% on some type of testosterone or steroid because you saw the difference in his body over 2 years when studio.
Isn't it Eric Silva or Tim Sylvia?
Eric Silva.
Okay, Silva.
ERICK Silva. Just fought in Bellator this weekend against Paul Daly.
Okay.
Perfect example of a guy that it was physically visible that he was on something. They don't know what it was, but he was obviously on something. And when USADA came around and the testing came around, he said, fuck it, I don't want to get popped. See ya. Performance I don't think his performance or anything changed. There's those guys. Then there's the guys that I'm out with you one night and somebody puts something in my drink that I shouldn't have, or I fucking take a pre-workout with somebody and then I lose my career for a year. I'm eating too much horse from Mexico.
That's a shitty excuse.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there is that shit that is costing people their careers, and then also there have USADA that is unfortunately log jamming because they're doing their job. But that's the question, man.
Right, that's what you want. Strict testing. Everyone wants that.
How strict is too strict?
Right.
If I spit in this cup today, but I spit in it tomorrow because I had more water, do I pass? That doesn't make sense to me.
Or because you're burning more fat. Because I mean, that's the thing is, if it's something where you have it metabolizes in your system because you're burning off fat because you're cutting weight and then it shows up, it's just.
And to give people, which they have talked about over and over in USADA, the amount of minute found in there is take an Olympic swimming pool and drop 1 to 2 drops of whatever you think is possibly.
And that's the percentage.
And then find it.
Yeah.
That is what we're dealing with right now. And like everybody says, is that really helping them win the fight? John Jones goes, I beat DC after doing cocaine.
Well, cocaine was helping him win the fight. That's the thing.
Allegedly. Or just John Jones being John Jones. That's the thing is, what is really helping you? TJ Dillashaw. EPO helped him train harder. Did it help him win? We don't know.
Yeah, but
you don't know. He still cheated. No. That's where the gray area gets fucked up. Was he able to train harder to get his tank better and be in better shape and cut more weight? Or was he able to take something that just made him train harder and basically barely get by?
And that's where it's a weird line that you have to draw, because he's taking that EPO assumably to be able to increase his blood cell count and recover and train harder.
To
recover faster, train harder. Henry Cejudo's doing the same thing, but he's doing it in a biometric chamber.
Yep.
He's.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to get the same effect out of your body to increase your blood cell count so that you can recover faster and train harder. One's something you're putting into your body. One's you going into this chamber. Why is one acceptable and one not? I mean,
well, think about this though. Is back in the day, so somebody right now listening could be saying, "Well, here's the deal: you just test them a month before the fight, and you test them every other day before up to the fight." A guy could take a certain type of steroid for 6 months and then stop and have it completely out of his system and still see the gains and still see the rewards on some of them. That's why the testing changed. They are trying to pick up anything that was in there that could be an advantage for anybody, but you cannot say, well, this guy took this 2 months ago and it's finally out of his system now, but it looks like it's helping him. You can't do that. They have to figure out the happy medium. Or we got to really, we're not at all into, I'm just saying is, you could have a Frank Shamrock be pumping TRT, cuts it off a month before the fight. He's still going to see a lot of rewards. Maybe not the maximum, but he's still going to see the rewards.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's helping you train harder is helping.
And that's why TJ's was a 2-year suspension. You got a belt twice because you fucking used something that was 100% illegal and you knew it. The other side is the tainted supplements like Yoel. That's why he pushed and continued to do this. I didn't mean to take this, but I still got popped. That's the difference.
Because someone's selling me something that's not what they're told me.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'll be honest with you.
I think that sets a huge precedent, and I'm glad that. I mean, like I said, I don't think I think he gets a fraction of that $27 million. So not that it's a huge win for him, but
if he gets $5 million, it was worth
against the industry.
If he gets $5 million, it was worth every day.
$3 million. I mean, that's huge. But it's a bigger deal that there's a precedent now set that if you are selling tainted supplements, you're on the hook for it.
And guess what? There's going to be a lot of chemists and a lot of lab technicians tightening their shit up because nobody wants to lose $27 million.
And there's going to be a lot of people that see Yoel Romero saying, I know I didn't take shit. I'm coming after whoever I've been taking supplements from. So that's a little aside. Before we get into the UFC 239 card, I just thought it was appropriate.
Yeah, that was great.
Now that we've had Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera scratched from the card. So that's the second. We talked a little bit earlier. Junior Dos Santos and Francis Ngannou were going to be on this main card. Now that's gone. Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera is gone. And Dave and I, we've got the stipulations. We got to place 2 bets on this. And that Sean O'Malley Marlon Vera card fight was. I mean, odds being what they were, and excited as I was about that fight, that's the one I wanted to make bets on, and now that's off the card. So now we gotta scramble to find something to replace it. But let's go ahead and start the main event here.
Yep.
It's John Jones and Thiago Santos. John Jones coming in at a -600 favorite. Thiago Santos at a +400 underdog. I'm not ever going to pick against John Jones ever. I think he is as good as we've ever seen him do it.
You and 80% of America that watches UFC.
I'd have to imagine the number's higher than 80%.
No, with John, it's something that we talked about just with USADA that just sparked something in me is the time lost of John that I knew I could have seen makes me sad. But the John Jones I'm seeing right now makes me even more excited because he is at the top of the game, doing insane things, still young. And I don't ever want to bet against John Jones, but for a bet that's not my prediction bet, I know that Santos has been continuing saying anybody can get clipped, anybody can get popped. John Jones can be that guy. And trust me, if there's any guy I got confidence in under John Jones to put it on the chin and put him out, it's the wild throws of Santos. Santos is like a combine to me. He's just throwing everything everywhere. There's hay flying everywhere, and then either there's a log jam or you get through it. Like, he will either continue through and push through and survive and put John out, or he will be the one that gets put out and he'll go out on his shield in the back of the hay bale. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a puncher's chance it's a fight.
Yep.
I heard John in an interview say that his fiance hits hard enough to knock him out. It's just you have to be good enough not to get hit, or you have to be good enough to hit him, rather.
True statement.
Which is a that is definitely a way to look at it. I guess if I have any concern about John at all going into this fight, it's how confident he seems to be, which he has every right to be that confident. It almost seems like he's looking past this to the next fight. That said, I'm not betting on John Jones with a negative. I mean, I'm picking him to win, but with a negative 600 odds, that is not one I'm going to choose to bet on.
But hey, somebody in Vegas right now, if you got $100 in a casual Saturday, throw $100 on Thiago Santos. It might be a very nice weekend.
Yeah, it could turn into a better day for you. If he gets caught, which no one's ever caught him. No one's ever caught him, but if it happens,
time will tell.
Co-main event is another championship fight. It's Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm for the women's bantamweight championship. Amanda Nunes is coming off of her victory against Chris Cyborg to take the women's featherweight belt. This will be Holly's, this is probably going to be her third or fourth championship fight.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes is a negative 325 favorite. Holly Holm is a plus 250. Like I said, I was having trouble picking some fights to bet on. I really think Amanda Nunes is going to win this fight, but based on all the odds I've got to choose from and our stipulations that we're choosing two fights to bet on in this card, I'm going to bet on Holly Holm. I think there's definitely a chance she wins this with a plus 250 odds.
It's good payday.
I'm taking those odds, and I would not mind seeing Holly Holm upset Amanda Nunes. I think it's possible. I don't think there's any girl in the UFC that's as scary as Amanda Nunes. I mean, Valentina Shevchenko is really, really scary. But we saw what Amanda Nunes did to her twice. I don't think there's anyone that beats her. I do think that Holly Holm has as good of a chance as anyone, and I'll throw $10 on her.
I like it. No, and I have Holly as just my normal prediction, winning by decision, just because I know the technical and just the overall that she's continued to have through just all of her fight skills through the year. She used to be boxing, Muay Thai, obviously the UFC, and she has fought everybody in the world. You got to remember, she knocked out Ronda Rousey. There's always those options. Beth Correa, she had that head kick, switch kick on her. She has the tools to do something. Yes, Amanda's power, and she is the John Jones kind of that division. At the same time, anything can happen.
Yeah, I think it's tougher in these women's divisions to get that one shot, finish them off, but it can still happen. It is a fight. People get caught. I want to get into the Gilbert Melendez fight and Arnold Allen. Gilbert Melendez is making his return from a long layoff. I mean, he's been doing a lot of commentary, analysis. He's been working with ESPN and Fox and the UFC, but it has been a while since he's fought. He's making his return against Arnold Allen. He's going to come in at a plus 260 underdog. Arnold Allen is the minus 340 favorite. Arnold Allen's looked good. He hasn't had a whole lot of finishes lately, but his skill set's there. And we know the skill set's there for Gilbert Melendez. It's just, what is he still at this point in his career after this many years off?
It's something that I brought up earlier about Gilbert, and this is not because I'm a fan of him. He trains with the Diaz brothers and stuff. You look at his last 4 losses. It's Jeremy Stevens. It's Edson Barboza. It's Eddie Alvarez. It's Anthony Pettis. You have the Showtime Pettis show. You have Eddie Alvarez, who's no longer in the division or in the promotion over at ONE, a champion. Edson Barboza, we all know the amazing things he's done. Jeremy Stevens obviously has been a titan. The guys he's lost to are the highest fucking caliber at one time, especially back when Gilbert was fighting. Arnold has done some great things. He is another decision master. He kind of plays the ring and finds a way to win.
Yeah, he plays smart.
He plays very smart.
To finish, really.
I think after, you got to remember, okay, so it was back in 2013 when the Diego Sanchez, Gilbert Melendez brawl from hell went out. That was a long time ago. Gilbert takes time off between fights because he's fighting these fucking high-ass ranking guys. And that is why...
And he gets his leg beat to hell.
And he got his leg beat the dog shit on that. But I have a lot of confidence in the experience, the background and everything. So I'm actually going to pick Gilbert Melendez as one of my bets.
Nice.
And I'm going to have him on a decision. So that will be one of my bets this evening.
I think the decision pick is good. I don't see. I think this fight does go to decision. Yeah. So I don't have
you got
the odds there. I picked Arnold Allen to win. I think the younger guy is going to defeat the guy coming off the layoff. But I do think it's going to go to decision. And speaking of that, Melendez and Diego Sanchez fight, we got Diego Sanchez and Michael Chiesa on this main card, which is, it's just always good to see Diego Sanchez fighting.
Yeah.
Diego's a plus 250 underdog. Michael Chiesa is a minus 325 favorite. I was surprised that it was that big of a spread for the odds. I picked Michael Chiesa to win. I think this is going to go to decision as well. I don't think he's going to finish Diego, but I think he's going to get the better of him throughout the fight.
Yeah. And, I always have to drop back and think of Diego's always full bull rush, crazy, but also look what he did to Mickey Gall. Younger, newer fighter. Now, you finished that fight, and Mickey Gall bit him.
Yeah.
And he also gave him the dirty Sanchez, 2 fingers in the snake.
No, Sanchez gave Mickey Gall.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Sanchez gave him the dirty Sanchez in the ass for that shit. But Michael Chiesa is a little bit higher caliber, I believe, than Mickey Gall. I'm always going to root for Diego in these lower rankings because he does believe in himself. He's wild as fuck. I think he might go in there and get wild on Chiesa. I'm not going to bet on this, but I am going to predict that that's going to be a TKO second round.
For Diego Sanchez.
Diego Sanchez. Yep.
Not the champion, but the victor.
Yep.
Let's get back up to that welterweight fight. This is a number 4 versus number 5 welterweight. I'm interested in this fight. I think that Jorge Masvidal has a lot to prove. I think Ben Askren has a lot to prove. Masvidal is coming off a long layoff, and then he came back to knock out Darren Till. Ben Askren still kind of has a win in the UFC. It was that
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, that defeat of Robbie Lawler, which
his debut also.
Robbie Lawler wasn't out as soon as the fight was called. I don't know if he was out the second beforehand, but this is a potentially take Colby Covington's spot fight.
Yes.
Ben Askren is a negative 225 favorite. Jorge Masvidal is a plus 175 favorite. And on top of that, we got a side bet that Ben Askren is going to get knocked out in his next performance. So we're looking at that as well.
Yeah, that's a big fight there. And yeah, I'm not going to bet on any of that because I already got enough money into it. I'm just excited for that fight in general because I hope I get to see Ben stand up for a while and then do his normal wrestling. And I hope to see Masvidal deal with a wrestler. I think it's a learning curve for both of them.
We talked about this when the fight was first announced.
Yeah, long time ago.
The first fight that came to my mind was the Jorge Masvidal-Demian Maia fight. And in that fight, Jorge got so frustrated because as soon as Demian Maia got a hold of him, that was it. He controlled his body. He had him wrapped up.
Took his tools away.
Yeah, it was. Jorge Masvidal needs his timing, his distance to make that strike, and Demian Maia gave him none of it. So we're going to see if in the past couple of years, Jorge Masvidal has made strides in being able to dictate the pace and distance the fight takes place at, if he can handle when someone gets a hold of him, because I think the fight's going to go similar to
Demian Maia fight.
The Demian Maia fight. That one went the distance and Demian Maia won in decision. I have this one going 3 rounds and Ben Askren getting the submission at the end. Jorge's coming off of that knockout win over Darren Till. I'm not saying it couldn't happen to this. I just know that Ben Askren's never been knocked out in his life. He's actually never lost as a professional fighter. So that's I feel like that's going my way on that bet.
There's a ton on the line with that, and like I said, the only reason I'm betting on Jorge, because I've followed him, I love him, I never thought he'd knock out Darren Till. Darren Till was...
But damn was it impressive.
But damn, it was nice, and all I know is Darren Till may not have the toughest chin in the world, but I watched the chin of Ben Askren against Robbie Lawler. Masvidal is just a tick below when he wants to give you that 3-piece and a soda.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for Masvidal to bide the time to be able to put in that finish. But regardless, Got money on the line.
This is
it's going to be a badass fight.
Probably the fight I'm most interested in on the card.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Especially since O'Malley and Vera.
I wanted to see who won that fight because I mean, we had already talked. Dave has said that he thinks Marlon Vera is a future champion.
I do.
Sean O'Malley has a lot of tools, and man, that was the one I thought could go either way. This welterweight showdown is the fight I am most interested in on this card. And then the last one we want to talk about on the main card here is Jan Blachowicz and Luke Rockhold. This is Luke's first fight at light heavyweight, moving up from middleweight. I think that I haven't seen too much from Jan that's impressed me.
Really?
At that light heavyweight division, he's lost to, let's see, he just lost to Santos. Who did he lose to before that? I mean, I guess it's ambitious of me to think that Rockhold can come up to the light heavyweight division. He's the number 3rd ranked fighter in the middleweight division, and then step in and then defeat the number 6 ranked fighter in the lightweight division. But there's not been a whole lot. No, I'm sorry. Jan's only had that one loss. Before that, he's had several victories. He even beat Jared Cannonier, Jimmy Manuwa, Nikita Krylov. He's all of those victories leading up to that Thiago Santos fight. But I'm picking Luke to win this fight. I think he's going to show up. I think he's got a lot to gain. I honestly think that if he gets this fight, he may be next in line for. If he gets a win, he may be next in line for John Jones.
Wow.
But I don't.
Wow. No, I love this because I thought the complete opposite, knowing what you were going to say. So obviously, this is my second bet. I'm betting Jan with Blachowicz here. Just because of what you just said, because of his background, of what he's been winning here recently, and having a newcomer like Luke coming up. And you know me, man, I love seeing a good-looking dude get knocked the fuck out.
That's what I was a big Luke fan until Bisping knocks him out, and I was like, man, that is so cool.
Bad. And it is. Like, I honestly think for his first step up, this is a big fucking fight.
This isn't an easy fight.
And this is not an easy fight, and I'm glad. I'll give Luke a lot of respect. Whoever gave Sean Shelby giving him the call and saying, hey, man, here's the fight I got for you. It's a pretty high-level dude. You're not going to get a cakewalk walking into this new weight division. So I love it. You and me get to go head-to-head on this, plus we get to go head-to-head on Ben Askren and Masvidal.
We're doubling up on this bout.
I like that. So I'm going to go with Blachowicz with a little TKO out the gate.
Yeah, and I also have Luke Rockhold winning by TKO. I think his ground and pound is going to finish it in the second round. So yeah, that is another fight. It's gonna be interesting to see. I think it has major influence on the immediate future of the light heavyweight division. Well, and so yeah, that's the UFC 239 card. It's not as deep as the 238 card we just saw in Chicago, but there's not a better main card than this. I mean, it doesn't have the 21 ranked fighters, but it's got 2 championship fights. You got this Jorge Masvidal and Ben Askren fight at welterweight, and Jan and Luke at light heavyweight. I think it's got about everything you can ask for when you throw in the fact that you got Diego Sanchez and Gilbert Melendez on the card. A
lot of big names.
Yeah, so that's a strong card.
Sweet.
And then the last one we want to preview today is Fight Night Sacramento. This one kind of came together all of a sudden. And it's got some big names. It's headlined by Jermaine Durandamy and Aspen Ladd. So that'll be your headliner chick fight. Uriah Faber's coming back to fight Ricky Simone. Josh Emmett and Mirsad Bektic.
That's the best fight on the card. Right there. That's the best fucking fight on the card because both these guys, you look at their featherweight records, you look what they're doing. That to me right there, zone in, don't do anything, get your popcorn for that one.
And you got Josh Emmett win by TKO in the third. You think it's going to be like the last fight where he's losing, gets the finish?
The reason I say that is he went from the Lamas knockout in the first to dealing with Michael Johnson, who was no fucking cakewalk in that fight and kept putting it on him to where...
No, Michael Johnson was winning that fight until he
It was a full-ass decision, and he's out.
Yeah.
Bektic, I don't think is any lower or higher than dealing with Johnson, but I think it's going to be a completely different pace. I think there's going to be more balanced pace to where touch you a little bit, figure out what's going on out. Johnson's known for strike you, pull away, strike you again, get in your face, try to put you out. I think this is going to be one of those testing battles, and this is a huge fucking fight for either of these guys.
Yeah, it's a big one. I mean, we got number 8, number 9 featherweights. The losers out of the top 10. The winner is right up there with Zabit and Zombie, Yair, Jeremy Stevens.
Cream of the crop.
You're a fight or two out from that championship fight. We're split on this. I got Mirsad Bektic winning. Dave's got Josh Emmett. For me, it's I have in my mind the fight leading up to that knockout over Michael Johnson, and he looked like he was on the wrong side of that fight. And then, like you said, I mean, it's a fight. If you're waiting for that one shot and you find it, then
it's
you
there.
find it. Yeah. Yep. Going back up to the headliner, Durandamy and Aspen Ladd. I think Jermaine Durandamy has got the experience and the striking background. This is a step up, a considerable step up for Aspen Ladd in competition. This is going to be her first real championship caliber fight that she's going to be in, and that's why I've got Jermaine Durandamy winning this one.
Yeah, and I got Aspen for the sheer fact of she's going to step up to the moment and show the world that she is that caliber, or like you said, I would not be surprised if Durandamy says, hi, welcome to the big leagues.
And welcoming to the big leagues, or welcome back to the big leagues, Uriah Faber. So I mentioned that fight. Uriah Faber has got the co-main event slot. He's fighting Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone is a strong up-and-comer in the bantamweight division, and Uriah Faber is coming back after a couple years off. I don't know if it's been 2-3 years off.
It's almost 4.
It's been a while since we've seen him fight, and I just think that this is a tall task to come back to.
It's a tall task. I always will bet with Uriah because I know I say it all the time, but he is a decision master. A ton of his fights, he's not finishing guys. He's withstanding. Whether he wins or loses, he gets through fights. I mean, the Aldo fight, Jesus, he couldn't walk.
It's tough to finish Uriah Faber.
You know, he's broken his hands in fights and had to use his elbows. I mean, the guy's tough. He's always very, skilled when it comes to his map and his plan on what to do. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt with a decision coming over a guy having a little bit more experience, kind of like what we just talked about Durandamy, but I'm not stupid, man. I would not be surprised if Ricky Simone puts Uriah out. I mean, Uriah is 40, 41 years old with a kid, been out the game a while, whether he's been training or not. This is a very big toss-up to me.
We've both got Andre Fili over Shaman Moraes going decision. We've both got Mike Rodriguez over Jan Vellante by TKO.
Yep.
Darren Elkins and Ryan Hall.
Duh.
What do you think about that fight?
Well, knowing Ryan Hall the way he always plays, going for instantly a roll into the legs, turn your knee inside out, or try to get you in, any submission that's the most painful thing in the world. What better guy to go against than the damage Darren Elkins, who either wants to be flatline, bleeding out his head out and have no eyebrows left, or be tapped the fuck out to where you can't even fight anymore. I think this is one of the best matchups on the card that on paper people think are boring. I really, really hope, whether I pick decision on Darren or not, I want to see Ryan Hall get busted up. I've not seen Ryan Hall, who is a jiu-jitsu specialist, and when I mean specialist, that is all he fucking does.
He's trying to take your leg home with him.
He will take anything home with you and make sure it does not go in the right way it should, and he is stupendous at it. But Darren Elkins is also a guy you could beat to death with a metal pipe, and he might come back and beat you over the head with it. So I know how resilient Darren is. I'm very interested. Again, this is kind of a Damon Maya situation, is how do you prepare for these guys? Darren is used to getting beat the fuck out of and having bangers.
Slinging it right back.
And Ryan Hall is used to guys coming at him and he turns back around and he puts you in an area that you're like, why is my knee going that way? Why is my elbow popping out?
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by this.
You were saying the Josh Emmett, Mirsad Bektic, that's the other featherweight fight, was the one you wanted to see. This is the fight I want to see. And I think it has to do with the two styles.
Interesting.
There's not too many guys. I mean, like we said, Damian Maia is on his own as far as his jiu-jitsu control in MMA format. But Ryan Hall is good at jiu-jitsu, and he is. I think this is about as a high level of opponent as he's had in the UFC. I want to see how his plan or how his style works, because he's had some losses, but he's also had some wins, some quick wins too. He can get you in submissions quick.
Oh, even the BJ pin, whether it's BJ or not, that was bing, bing, done.
Yeah, and BJ doesn't get submitted.
No.
Until now.
No.
Yeah, I think Ryan Hall's jiu-jitsu is strong. He's dangerous. Like you said, he'll turn your leg inside out. And I think that if he can withstand the first round against Darren Elkins throwing leather, if he can get a hold of him, I'm picking the submission in the second round for Ryan Hall. I see that fight going down that way. But this is another one, like you said, where you're preparing for a specialist.
Yep.
And it's interesting to see how Darren's going to change his approach to the fight because he's fighting someone like a Ryan Hall.
Yep.
So that fight I am interested in seeing. And then the last one we can talk about here for our predictions is Juliana Pena and Nico Montano. Like we talked about with our little bit of USADA aside, Nico Montano, this is her first fight since being stripped of the title.
Coming off tough.
Yeah, I think that she's going to be very motivated to show that she should be up at the top of the division again. I don't believe she's ranked right now after being stripped from the title. I don't know how long it's been since she's fought, but she's coming off that USADA suspension, and this is her first fight back. She's going to want to get back up towards the top of that bantamweight ranking. And I've got her winning by decision here.
You know, with me, I think there's no such thing as ring rust when you're at this caliber. But I think with one, Nico is not the springest chicken in the world. The USADA, her not taking a fight and she doesn't operate like a true MMA fighter. She's kind of more normal, which is cool to see, but I think it hurts her in how these fights and these matchups and everything goes, because she was stripped because she fucked around and didn't make a move. And I don't know if it was her agent's problem, her own personal, whatever. That's not my business to get into, but I think Nico missed out on about a year and a half of some really good money and some good fights.
Yeah, missed opportunities. That's why I think she missed opportunities.
I really hope you're right on that. I'm playing the devil's advocate that I think Julia Pena is going to say, you don't fucking even deserve to be here. I'm going to put your lights out. And I'm going with a TKO 1 because, like I said, I hate to say it, I'm getting older too, but she is not the springest chicken in that division compared to a lot of those girls. And these are bigger girls too. So it'd be interesting to see, but better show up or shut up. That's for sure.
Yeah, so that's the Fight Night Sacramento. That's July 13th.
I love that Sac card.
It's not a bad card. It like I said, it all came together pretty quick. But we've got your headliner as the number one contender spot for the bantamweight division following this Holly Holm fight. You got the return of Uriah Faber and a couple featherweight fights that we're really interested to see. Not to mention Andre Fili and Shaman Moraes. Make that 3 featherweight fights you really want to see. So that'll be a good one, and we'll catch up with you after that.
Sounds good.